The Intergalactic Peace Council was a massive station the size of a small moon, orbiting Halion Prime. It hung in the dark, silent, and majestic, lit by the glow of distant stars and the soft shine of the planet below. The station was the heart of diplomacy across the galaxy. Here, wars ended, alliances were forged, and weak civilizations were often crushed under the weight of powerful empires pretending to seek peace. Commander Alex Voss stepped off his shuttle and onto the shining black floor of the council hall. He wore a clean, dark blue uniform with a single silver stripe across the chest, simple, by human design. No medals, no decorations, only the flag of Earth on his shoulder. The air inside was thick with arrogance and pride. Towering alien delegates stood or floated in place, some 8 feet tall, others glowing or humming with strange energy. Every species here represented a powerful force in the galaxy. Their languages were translated through small comm devices in their ears, but their disdain for humans needed no translation. As Voss walked to his seat at the very edge of the circular chamber, heads turned. Whispers buzzed through the air. The Dralian warriors in red armor sneered. The tall, insect-like Vexari clicked their jaws with amusement. Even the usually neutral Alarians exchanged amused glances. To them, the human delegation was a joke, a small, fragile race from a minor planet. Barely tolerated. Never respected. Voss sat down silently and folded his hands. His expression was calm, unreadable. He had been to this chamber before. He had heard the laughter, the jokes. He expected more today. But today was not like the others. High above the floor, in a floating ring of light, the voice of the council speaker echoed through the vast hall. Let the session begin. The Dominion of Dralian requests the floor. A figure stepped forward. Supreme Overlord Varnak. He was massive, armored in crimson with a jagged crown built into his skull. His voice boomed with power, full of pride and menace. We gathered today to address a growing concern, Varnak began, pacing slowly. A concern about Earth. A world that speaks of peace but hides behind shadows. A species that barely survived its own history and now dares to call itself a galactic equal. The chamber murmured in agreement. Voss remained silent. Varnak raised a long, clawed hand and pointed directly at the human delegate. Commander Voss, tell us, is it true your people are building weapons in secret? Are you preparing for war? Voss didn't flinch. He spoke slowly, his voice even and steady. Earth has always prepared. That's how we survived. But we came here for peace. Laughter echoed around the room. Deep, echoing laughter from dozens of species. Varnak's mouth twisted into a grin. Peace? From a race that throws rocks and calls them ships? You speak of survival. I speak of dominance. The galaxy boasts to strength, not to whispers. Voss looked up at him. Calm. Cold. Be careful, he said simply. The chamber went quiet for a brief second, surprised by the quiet edge in his tone. But only for a second. Then the laughter returned, louder than before. The council speaker called for order. Varnak returned to his place, still smirking. Voss didn't react. He had expected this. Earth had waited for this moment for years. And now it had come. Soon, the galaxy would learn. Soon, no one would laugh again. The council chamber dimmed as the speaker activated the central holofield. A large sphere hovered in the air, glowing blue. Inside it, rotating images of Earth's outer colonies and space stations appeared, some real, some artificially enhanced. The voice of the council speaker echoed calmly. Supreme Overlord Varnak of the Dralian Dominion has submitted a formal complaint against Earth. The floor is his. Varnak stood tall, his red armor shining under the council lights. His claws tapped the metal railing as he slowly walked toward the center platform. He spoke with the practiced rhythm of a ruler used to being heard and obeyed. The Dominion has observed suspicious activity across multiple sectors near Earth's claimed space. Cloaked transports. Unregistered outposts. Strange energy signatures. These are not the actions of a peaceful world. The holofield changed, now showing a blurred image of what appeared to be a ship, gray, sharp, with no clear markings. It hovered near a dark asteroid belt. This, Varnak declared, pointing a thick claw at the image, is not a cargo freighter. It is a warship. And not one of ours. Voss remained seated, arms folded, watching carefully. He didn't interrupt. Not yet. Varnak continued, turning toward the gathered council delegates. Humans have hidden behind peace treaties for too long. They have built weapons in secret. They are not allies. They are cowards preparing to strike from the shadows. I demand action. Now. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. The Vexari delegate hissed in agreement. The Solari ambassador nodded slowly. Only a few neutral species remained silent. Varnak raised both arms. I call for Earth's immediate suspension from this council. Strip them of their voice, their votes, their so-called rights. Let the Dralian Dominion provide them with security for the safety of all. Applause erupted from his allies. It sounded like thunder in the vast dome. The speaker turned to Commander Voss. Earth may respond. Voss rose. Slowly. Calmly. He didn't walk to the center. He didn't raise his voice. You claim Earth is dangerous, Voss began, because we don't show you everything. Because we don't share our secrets. Maybe you're right. The room quieted a little. The tone in Voss's voice was not defensive. It was measured, deliberate. You call us cowards because we choose silence over war. You call us weak because we didn't parade ships through your skies. But the truth is simpler. We don't need to prove anything to you. He looked directly at Varnak now. We're not here to impress. We're here to belong. We signed your treaties. We followed your rules. We listened while you laughed. Voss paused, letting the silence grow heavy. But do not mistake patience for fear. And do not mistake silence for surrender. Be very careful what you ask for, Varnak. The warning hung in the air like a blade. The council chamber was quiet now, more than it had been all day. Varnak laughed. A sharp, dry laugh. So that's it? A threat from a scared little species clinging to a fragile planet? No threat, Voss replied. Just advice. The speaker broke the silence. The motion to suspend Earth's council rights will be reviewed. The vote will take place next session. Delegates began to whisper again. Some looked unsure now. Others remained smug, entertained by the drama. Voss sat back down slowly. He looked out the wide window behind the chamber, toward the distant stars. Earth had never wanted this moment, but it had prepared for it. Every insult, every dismissal, every joke had been fuel. And now, that fuel was ready to burn. He pressed a quiet signal on his wrist device. No one noticed. Not yet. The atmosphere inside the council chamber had shifted. The air felt thicker, heavier with tension. What began as mockery had turned into something more serious, something colder. Delegates who once laughed freely now whispered behind folded hands, casting uncertain glances toward the human representative. Commander Alex Voss sat in silence, his posture straight, his eyes forward. His face gave nothing away. No emotion. No anger. No fear. Just calm focus. He had faced war before. He had seen death. But this was different. This was politics at its most dangerous, when pride and paranoia joined forces. Across the chamber, Supreme Overlord Varnak stood tall, arms crossed over his chestplate. He looked pleased. His lips curved into a smug grin. He believed the vote was already won. The speaker's voice rang out again, formal and clear. We now move to the motion presented by the Dralian Dominion, the suspension of Earth's seat from the Intergalactic Peace Council, citing violations of the Weapons Treaty. A bright ring of light formed above the council floor. Inside it, holographic vote symbols appeared, one for each empire or representative. Each symbol hovered, pulsing, waiting for input. Varnak stepped forward again. Let us not pretend, he said loudly, addressing the room, that we are voting on paperwork. We are voting on trust. And Earth has broken it. They hide ships. They hide power. What else are they hiding? Why should we wait for them to strike first? He paced, voice rising with passion. They are standing among giants, pretending to be equals. Let us remind them who rules this galaxy. Several delegates nodded. Some muttered in agreement. One by one, vote symbols began to glow red, the color of support for Earth's removal. Voss didn't move. He didn't react. But his left hand rested lightly on the device at his wrist, hidden beneath his sleeve. The metal surface was warm now. Active. The speaker looked to the remaining votes. Earth may offer final words before the vote is closed. Voss rose slowly. Not rushed. Not nervous. Each movement deliberate, measured. He stepped to the center platform. The eyes of 100 species watched him. Judging. Waiting. He spoke calmly. You say we broke your treaty. That we built ships. That we planned for war. He paused, letting the words settle. You're not wrong. Whispers exploded across the chamber. Several delegates leaned forward, stunned. But ask yourselves this. Why would we prepare for war? His voice sharpened just slightly. Because we knew this moment would come. The moment when patience isn't enough. When silence isn't respected. When peace is mistaken for weakness. He turned his eyes toward Varnak. You call us ants. You think we don't belong. That's fine. We've heard worse, and we've survived worse. Then he looked around the entire room. But remember this. Everything we've done, we did to avoid war. To avoid this. And yet, here we are. He took a slow breath and added, you wanted to know what Earth hides? You're about to find out. Before anyone could speak, Voss lifted his left wrist and tapped the hidden button beneath the sleeve. A soft chime echoed through the chamber. Nothing happened at first. Just silence. Confused glances. A few chuckles. Then, the entire station began to vibrate, just slightly. The speaker's platform flickered. Report coming in from Outer Ring Surveillance, a robotic voice announced. Unknown vessels detected emerging from local space-time distortion. More confusion. Delegates began checking their comm devices. Some stood from their seats. The holofield at the center of the chamber flared to life on its own. What it showed made the room fall completely silent. A wormhole had opened outside the station. Massive, swirling with silver-blue light. From it, ships emerged, one by one. Smooth, black vessels with sharp angles and glowing blue underbellies. Earth ships. Hundreds of them, forming a silent wall in space. No markings. No lights. Just raw, quiet power. The council chamber was frozen. Voss didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. You thought Earth was sleeping. We weren't. We were just watching. A few delegates began to panic. Others sat in stunned silence. This is the last time you laugh at us, Voss said simply. He turned and walked back to his seat. The vote was no longer important. The galaxy had just changed, and everyone knew it. Outside the Intergalactic Peace Council station, space twisted unnaturally. A brilliant swirl of energy cracked open the void like a wound in the fabric of reality. The wormhole glowed silver blue, pulsing with controlled power, as if holding something back, something enormous. Then the first ship appeared. It slid out of the vortex silently, a black spear of metal, smooth and sharp. No lights, no insignias. Only a faint blue glow beneath its hull. It moved with terrifying grace, too fast, too clean. Not like any ship the Council had ever seen. And then came the second. The third. The fourth. Within seconds, dozens of ships formed a wide formation in space. Then hundreds. They spread out in perfect precision, covering the sky above Halion Prime like a mechanical storm. Each vessel was different in shape but identical in purpose, battle-ready, silent, and waiting. Inside the council chamber, panic had begun to stir. Delegates stared at the live feed on the central holofield, their expressions frozen. Some stood in disbelief. Others reached for communication devices, trying to contact their fleets. A few whispered in their native tongues, voices trembling. Commander Alex Voss remained seated. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He watched. Identification? Asked the council speaker, his voice shaking slightly. A scanning officer replied, no registry matches. They are not in the council's ship database. All transponders are dark. Power signatures are unlike anything we've seen. They're human, Voss finally said, his voice quiet but clear. All eyes turned to him. Varnak stood up abruptly, his face contorted in disbelief. This is impossible. Earth doesn't have this kind of fleet. You've broken the treaty. This is a declaration of war. Voss turned his head slowly to face him. No. This is proof. You wanted to see what we were hiding. Now you have. The speaker stared at the holofield, lips parted. One of the Earth ships moved forward, slow, deliberate. It passed just above the council station. As it did, every sensor on the station went offline for a full 10 seconds. Lights flickered. Communications cut out. No weapons locked on. No threats were made. The message was clear. We can reach you, and you can't stop us. When the systems came back online, the council floor was dead silent. Why? The Solari ambassador asked quietly. Why hide this? Why not show us before? Voss stood. He didn't return to the center of the room. He simply spoke from his place. Because we hoped we wouldn't need to. His voice was calm but carried weight. Every word hit with purpose. For decades, we listened to the laughter. The insults. We kept our head down. We joined your rules. We learned. But we never forgot who we were. And we never stopped preparing. You call us dangerous, he continued. Maybe we are. But it's not because we want to conquer. It's because we will never be conquered again. Varnak took a step forward, fist clenched. So what now, human? You threaten us? You aim your ships and expect us to kneel. Voss shook his head. No. We're not here to fire. We're here to be heard. His eyes scanned the room. For the first time, you're finally listening. The chamber fell into a heavy silence. No one moved. No one spoke. Outside, Earth's fleet hovered above the station like a silent army of shadows. Not attacking. Not leaving. Just watching. Waiting. The balance of power had shifted, and the galaxy knew it. For the first time in its long history, the Intergalactic Peace Council sat in complete silence. No debates. No arguments. No laughter. Just silence and fear. The image of Earth's fleet hovered above the chamber, projected in perfect detail. Hundreds of ships. Cold. Still. Ready. They didn't flash weapons or fire warning shots. They didn't send messages or demands. They simply remained, like watchers in the dark. Commander Alex Voss stood again, calm and steady. "This isn't about war," he said clearly. "This is about respect." Delegates turned toward him. Some still couldn't believe what they were seeing. Others stared with growing unease. Power like this was supposed to belong to the ancient empires, not a small blue world on the edge of the galaxy. "We tried to be part of your system," Voss continued. "We followed the rules. We asked for a seat at the table. And all we received were insults and threats." He looked directly at Varnak. "You pushed. We stood still. You threatened. We stayed quiet. But Earth has limits." The Dralian warlord narrowed his eyes. His pride was wounded, but even he now sensed the danger in pushing further. "You kept your fleet hidden," Varnak said coldly. "You deceived this council." "We protected ourselves," Voss replied. "If you had what we have, you would have used it to conquer. We used it to survive. That's the difference between us." Murmurs moved through the chamber. Delegates whispered to each other, quietly reevaluating everything they thought they knew about humans. The Ilarian ambassador stood. He was from a species known for neutrality, rarely speaking unless the balance of peace was at stake. "This show of power," he said softly, "was not an attack. No shots were fired. No ships were harmed. It was a message, loud and clear." He turned toward Voss. "Earth has earned its voice here. I vote to maintain their seat." Another ambassador, this one from the Vexry swarm, chimed in. "Agreed. Let the humans keep their place. Or at least, let them keep their distance from us." A strange mix of agreement and nervous laughter followed. It wasn't mocking. It was cautious. Respectful. Varnak stepped back, fists still clenched but shoulders tight. He said nothing more. The speaker returned to the center platform. "The Council recognizes Earth's right to defend itself. The vote to suspend their membership is hereby withdrawn." Soft chimes rang out as the vote symbols disappeared from the holofield. Commander Voss didn't smile. He didn't show pride or victory. Only quiet resolve. "We didn't come here to frighten anyone," he said. "We came to be treated as equals. Nothing more. Nothing less." The speaker nodded once. "This council sees Earth." Voss gave a short nod in return. Outside the station, Earth's fleet began to shift. Their formation opened, then slowly retreated, one ship at a time, back through the still open wormhole. They left just as silently as they had arrived. No ships remained. Only the memory of their presence and the impression they left behind. In the chamber, the tone had changed. Delegates no longer looked at Voss with mockery. They looked at him the way one looks at a quiet storm, just after lightning strikes nearby. Powerful. Unshaken. Real. The meeting was over. The speaker dismissed the session. As the chamber emptied, many looked back at the human representative. They didn't speak to him. They didn't dare. But they would remember this day. And they would not laugh again. The great hall of the Intergalactic Peace Council emptied slowly. The delegates left in silence, some casting wary glances toward the human representative as they passed. No one spoke to Commander Alex Voss. No one dared. He stood alone now, overlooking the wide observation window that spanned one side of the chamber. Through it, the stars stretched across the void, quiet and undisturbed. The wormhole had closed, leaving behind only empty space and the faint hum of station energy fields. The human fleet was gone, but its presence still echoed in every mind present. No one could forget the cold precision, the sheer scale, the terrifying silence of it all. Voss stood still, hands folded behind his back. His face remained calm, but inside, he felt the weight of the moment settle. This wasn't just a political victory. It was a shift in the galaxy's balance. Earth, long ignored, long mocked, had forced the stars to listen. A soft tone buzzed in his earpiece. "Commander Voss, this is Earth Command. Status report?" He responded quietly, without turning from the stars. "Council back down. Vote withdrawn. They won't try again." There was a pause on the other end. "Any trouble?" Voss took a deep breath. "Only the usual. Threats, laughter, disbelief." Then silence. The voice from Earth chuckled lightly. "They saw the fleet?" "Yes," Voss replied. "They saw enough." He ended the transmission and allowed himself a rare moment of reflection. He thought of the long years of planning, the sleepless nights in orbiting stations, the endless simulations, the quiet orders passed through encrypted channels. Earth had poured everything it had into building those ships, into building respect. Not for conquest, not for power, for survival, for dignity. That had always been the mission. Footsteps echoed behind him. A quiet pair. The council speaker approached, alone. "Commander," the speaker said respectfully, "I underestimated your people." Voss didn't turn. "Most of you did." There was no bitterness in his voice. Just truth. The speaker stood beside him, also looking at the stars. "What now?" Voss's answer was simple. "Now, they treat us as equals." "Or not at all." The speaker nodded once, then quietly walked away. Voss remained at the window, watching the stars in silence. There was no need for more words. No speeches. No threats. Earth had spoken, not with fire, not with noise, but with quiet strength. He tapped his wrist one final time, sending a single signal to the fleet. "Stand down." Mission complete. Then, with a calm stride, he turned from the window and walked toward the exit. No applause followed him. No cheers. Just the faint hum of lights above, and the quiet memory of power revealed. Earth had arrived. Not as a conqueror, but as a warning.